Section 1. Hi everyone. Tonight we're going to talk about something deeply transformative, something that has the potential to change the way you see yourself and the world around you. Imagine waking up in the morning, feeling light, feeling free. Now imagine that freedom not as a distant dream, but as something within your reach right now. It's not magic. It's the power of emotional detachment, the process of letting go of what no longer serves you, and the path to finding peace within yourself. Carl Jung, a towering figure in psychology, believed that inner peace is not about suppressing your emotions or becoming indifferent to them. No, it's about completely transforming the way you relate to them. But this transformation isn't easy. It's not about pushing your feelings down and pretending they don't exist. Instead, it's about understanding your emotions deeply, so deeply that you can let go of what holds you back. Jung saw emotional detachment not as the avoidance of feelings, but as an essential practice for achieving personal growth. When we think about detachment, many of us assume that it means becoming cold, distant, or emotionally numb. And while there's a certain allure to the idea of being untouchable, indifferent to what others think or feel, that's not what Carl Jung was talking about. Far from it. Jung's concept of detachment isn't about becoming emotionally indifferent. It's about emotionally engaging with your experiences, understanding your emotions deeply, and then choosing to let go of what no longer serves you. In his view, true emotional detachment requires you to be in touch with your emotions, not shut them down or avoid them. It's the opposite of numbing out. In fact, emotional detachment is, in a way, the ultimate form of emotional awareness. Think about it. How often do we ignore our emotions because they feel uncomfortable or inconvenient? Maybe you're angry at someone but convince yourself it's not worth addressing. Or perhaps you're stuck in a toxic relationship, too afraid to walk away, because the unknown feels scarier than the pain. These are the very emotions Jung believed we need to confront head-on, because only by understanding why we feel the way we do can we make the choice to release that emotional weight. The truth is, detachment isn't about disconnecting from your emotions. It's about learning to navigate them without letting them control your life. It's about breaking free from the idea that you are your emotions. Too many of us identify so deeply with our feelings, our fears, our pain, that they begin to define us. But Jung would say, that's not who you truly are. The real you is beneath those emotions, beyond them. To detach, then, is to peel away those layers that have been added over time, the beliefs, the fears, the past experiences, and to uncover the person you were always meant to be. It's not about erasing emotions or pretending they don't matter. It's about recognizing them, understanding them, and, when necessary, letting them go. One of the most powerful things Jung said was that life is a continuous dialogue between the conscious and unconscious. Our unconscious mind is always at work, sending us messages whether we're aware of it or not. These messages often come in the form of emotions, dreams, or behavioral patterns. And the more you ignore them, the more persistent they become. It's like a child trying to get your attention. The first tap on the shoulder is gentle, but if you keep ignoring it, eventually, they'll scream. The more you avoid confronting these emotional patterns, the louder they get. That's where emotional detachment comes in. By learning to recognize these patterns and release the emotional weight they carry, you start to break free from the cycle. You begin to shift from a place of reaction to one of intentional living. Instead of constantly being pulled back into the past, you can begin to focus on the present and, even better, the future. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Now, drop a comment below about where you're tuning in from and what time it is there. I always love hearing from you. And with that, let's dive deeper into this journey together. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. Section 2. So, let's break this down. When we talk about emotional detachment, the first thing that comes to mind is usually numbness or shutting down, especially in our society, where emotional vulnerability is often seen as weakness. It's like the person who brushes off their emotions, never lets their guard down, always keeps it together no matter what. This idea of detachment can make us think that what Carl Jung is saying is to detach ourselves from our feelings altogether, to become robots or stoics. Right. Wrong. Jung's concept of detachment is not about disconnecting from your feelings or denying that they exist. It's actually the opposite. It's about connecting with your emotions in a deeper, more meaningful way, but also having the wisdom to know when to let them go. We've all been there, stuck in a loop of overthinking, obsessing over something that happened in the past, unable to move on from it. Maybe you've been in a relationship that, deep down, you know isn't right for you, but you keep holding on to it, convincing yourself it's worth saving. Or maybe there's something in your past that keeps resurfacing, causing pain every time you think about it. These experiences aren't just annoying. They drain us. They fill us with anxiety, frustration, and self-doubt. But what Jung says about these repetitive thoughts and emotional patterns is so interesting. He suggests they're not random. They're messages. Our unconscious mind is trying to communicate something to us. The thing is, unlike the conscious mind, which operates through logic and reasoning, the unconscious doesn't speak in words. It speaks through emotions, symbols, and behavioral patterns. So, while we may think we're stuck, these patterns are actually trying to push us toward growth. But here's the problem. Most of the time, we ignore those signals. Now, I'm not suggesting that the universe is always sending us messages, or that every time something bad happens. It's because our unconscious is trying to teach us something. But there's something to be said about the repeating nature of life's little lessons. Why is it that we always end up in the same type of toxic relationship? Or why do we tend to make the same mistakes over and over? Jung believed that this happens because we haven't yet learned the lesson the experience is meant to teach us. These patterns are like reruns of the same episode. You're stuck in a loop. But it's not until you pay attention that you'll finally move on to the next chapter of your life. That's why emotional detachment is so important. It's about recognizing these patterns. It's about seeing the ways in which we sabotage our own happiness by clinging to the past, to people or things that don't serve us anymore. And, instead of running from our emotions, we must acknowledge them, sit with them, and then let them go. Jung believed that this process, the ability to release attachments, was one of the most important steps toward transformation. Because, when we continue to hold on to things that no longer align with who we are essentially dragging the past into our present, preventing us from moving forward. You see, letting go isn't a form of escape. It's an act of courage. It's about facing your deepest fears, your emotional wounds, and allowing yourself to process them. Letting go requires you to stand up to the things that make you uncomfortable. It requires you to be vulnerable. It's not about running away from the things that hurt. It's about confronting them, processing them, and making a conscious choice to release the emotional weight you've been carrying. And this, my friends, is where the real power lies. Think about it. How often have you stayed in relationships, jobs, or situations that were causing you pain, simply because it was easier than facing the unknown? We do this all the time. We choose what's familiar, even when it doesn't make us happy, because the fear of change seems more overwhelming than the fear of staying stuck. But Jung challenges us to flip that narrative. What if we saw that fear not as something to run from, but as an invitation to grow? What if the discomfort was actually a sign that we were on the verge of transformation? Letting go of attachments, whether they be to people, places, or even ideas, doesn't mean we're losing something valuable. In fact, it's the opposite. By letting go, we make space for new things to enter our lives, new opportunities, new people, and perhaps, most importantly, a new sense of peace. The right people will come into your life. The right opportunities will present themselves, and you will rediscover a sense of inner calm you might have forgotten was even possible. But here's the catch. This process isn't easy. It requires trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the process, and trust in the fact that, deep down, you already know what is best for you. Jung spoke about this inner compass, that we all have the intuitive voice that guides us toward our truth. When we trust that voice and follow it, life becomes much simpler. We stop being driven by external forces or the opinions of others. Instead, we start living in alignment with our authentic selves. So, let me ask you, what is holding you back? What emotional baggage are you still carrying? What past experiences are you still clinging to that are keeping you stuck in a cycle of frustration and anxiety? And what would it look like if you could finally release them? I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but the choice to release what no longer serves you is one of the most empowering decisions you can make. It may not happen overnight, and it may not always feel like a smooth ride. But trust me, the sense of freedom you'll feel when you let go of that emotional weight is worth it. And in the end, emotional detachment isn't about loss, it's about liberation. Section 3. At this point, you might be asking yourself, but what exactly am I supposed to let go of? It's a good question, because when we think about letting go, it's easy to say, yeah, I'm ready to release the toxic stuff. But the truth is, we often hang on to things for much longer than we should. It's like holding on to an old shirt that's too small, but not wanting to get rid of it, because it reminds you of a time when you felt good about yourself. We often do the same with our emotions and relationships. We become attached to the memories, the people, or the situations that remind us of who we used to be, even if they no longer serve us. Let's be real here. How many of you have stayed in relationships or situations for far too long, simply because they felt familiar? It's like we're addicted to the comfort of the known, even when it's holding us back. For a lot of people, breaking free from what's familiar is terrifying. But here's the thing. The more you resist letting go of the things that no longer serve you, the more you're holding yourself back from living the life you truly want. You're stuck in a loop, replaying the same scenes over and over again, because you haven't learned how to release the emotional weight that's keeping you trapped. The best way I can describe this is by imagining yourself stuck in an elevator. The door won't open, and you're pressing the button frantically, hoping for something to change. But the reality is that you have to get out and make a choice to leave. You can't keep hoping the elevator will take you somewhere else. That's what holding on to things that no longer serve us feels like. We press all the buttons we can, trying to make something work, but we end up getting nowhere. We have to step out of the elevator and walk into the unknown if we want to get to the next level. Jung would say that life is full of opportunities to break free from the repetitive cycles, but only if we're willing to look beyond the comfort of what we know. He believed that if we don't confront the unresolved emotional patterns from our past, we stay stuck in them, never really moving forward. And as much as we want to believe that time will heal all wounds, the truth is, it doesn't. What time does is allow us to become accustomed to the pain. It masks the issue, but it doesn't heal it. So what's the solution? The solution is to take an honest look at your life and decide what needs to go. And when I say honest, I mean really honest. Not the surface level stuff where you convince yourself you're okay, because it's easier to believe that. I'm talking about facing the things you've been avoiding, the relationships that drain you, the fears that limit you, the old stories you tell yourself about who you are or what you're capable of. These are the things that hold you back from stepping into your true self. Here's the kicker. Letting go isn't a one-time event. It's a practice. We don't just wake up one day and say, all right, I'm done. I'm letting go of all the things that no longer serve me. No, this is an ongoing process. It's like cleaning out your closet. You might toss out a shirt today, but tomorrow you'll find another one that no longer fits. It's a gradual, ongoing process of recognizing when something no longer fits your life and being brave enough to release it. The more you practice this, the easier it gets. Now, I'll admit it, this journey of letting go can be tough. There will be moments when you feel like you're standing on the edge of a cliff, and the fear of letting go feels paralyzing. The fear of the unknown can be overwhelming, and the idea of losing what you know, even if it's painful, can seem safer than embracing the unfamiliar. But here's the thing, that fear isn't an obstacle, it's a signal. It's your invitation to grow. It's the universe saying, hey, you're about to step into something much better, but you have to trust yourself and take that leap. Letting go of what no longer serves you is like clearing the clutter out of your life. And when you clear the clutter, everything becomes clearer. Your energy shifts, your mindset changes, and suddenly, life starts to align. The right people come into your life. New opportunities present themselves, and you begin to feel the kind of peace you haven't experienced in a long time. Jung believed that when we align ourselves with our authentic selves, we start to experience something called synchronicity. This is the idea that once we start living in harmony with our true selves, the universe seems to respond in kind. Things start falling into place in ways that feel almost magical. The right people and opportunities show up, and decisions that once felt overwhelming suddenly become clear and effortless. It's as if the universe is nodding in approval, saying, "You're on the right path." This is the power of emotional detachment. It's not about losing something. It's about creating space for something greater. And when you finally let go, you realize that the weight you were carrying wasn't just holding you down. It was holding you back from what's next. So, take a moment to think about it. What's in your life that you need to release? What emotional baggage are you still carrying around? And how would your life change if you could finally let go of it? I know it's not easy, but the power to transform your life is in your hands. It's not about waiting for things to change. It's about changing yourself and the way you relate to the world around you. Now, let me remind you, this isn't about giving up. It's about gaining. When you let go of what no longer serves you, you open yourself up to the possibilities that lie ahead. So, ask yourself, are you ready to let go and make space for what's meant to come into your life? Section 4. Now that we've established the need to let go, let's take a deeper dive into what this really looks like. How do we start releasing what's no longer serving us? It sounds simple, but I get it. It's much easier said than done. Letting go doesn't happen overnight, and it certainly doesn't happen without a few bumps along the way. In fact, one of the most difficult parts of this process is getting past the resistance to change. We're creatures of habit. Even when we know something isn't good for us, it's hard to break free from what's familiar. The truth is, we become attached to our pain. Weird, right? But think about it. We know what pain feels like. It's predictable. It's familiar. Even when it's uncomfortable or toxic, it somehow feels safer than the unknown. When we stay in unhealthy relationships, toxic environments, or hold on to past hurts, it's because they've become a part of us. Letting go means shedding those old layers of ourselves, those stories we've built about who we are and what we're capable of. And that can feel like a loss, even though it's actually a step toward liberation. But here's where it gets interesting. Jung believed that transformation comes not from running away from our shadows, but from embracing them. What does that mean? It means that in order to truly let go, you first have to face what you've been avoiding. It's about sitting with the discomfort and acknowledging the parts of yourself that you've been suppressing. These parts aren't bad, even if they feel dark or painful. They're simply parts of your story that you've either ignored or rejected. And until you bring them into the light, they'll continue to haunt you, influencing your decisions and relationships in ways you may not even realize. Let's take the example of a relationship that's no longer healthy for you. You know it's draining you, that it's holding you back, yet you struggle to leave. Why? Because the emotional attachment you have to that relationship is deep. It's not just about the person, it's about the history, the memories, the identity you've created within it. Letting go means acknowledging the grief, the fear, and the sense of loss that comes with releasing that attachment. But it also means stepping into a new version of yourself, one that's no longer defined by that relationship. This is where the real work begins. It's one thing to say, "I'm ready to let go." It's another thing entirely to actually face what's holding you back and take the necessary steps to release it. And it's not just about relationships. It can be anything that's been anchoring you to the past. A job, a belief system, or even a place. The more you hold on to these things out of comfort or fear, the more you're limiting your own growth. But the moment you decide to let go, everything starts to shift. Your energy shifts. Your perspective shifts. The opportunities that once felt out of reach suddenly seem possible. Letting go is not just an emotional release. It's a spiritual one. It's like clearing the fog from your mind. You suddenly have clarity. You can see what you need to do and what your next steps are. You might even find that, once you make space in your life, things you've been longing for start to flow in effortlessly. It's not just about getting rid of the bad stuff. Letting go also makes room for the good things that have been waiting for you. Think about it like spring cleaning. You can't bring in new furniture or decor if your old stuff is just cluttering the place up. The same goes for your life. You can't welcome new opportunities, new relationships, or new dreams if you're still holding on to things that no longer serve you. Letting go is about clearing the path for what's meant to come into your life. But let's be clear here. Letting go is not about forgetting. It's about acknowledging the past and choosing not to let it dictate your future. You're not erasing memories, relationships, or experiences. You're choosing to stop allowing them to control your present and future. It's about creating a new relationship with those memories. Not one that keeps you stuck, but one that allows you to grow. Jung also spoke about the importance of individuation, which is the process of becoming the person you were meant to be, beyond the masks you've worn for the world. Letting go is an essential part of this journey. It's the act of shedding the layers of yourself that were created by external forces, whether societal expectations, family influences, or even your own fears, and embracing your authentic self. It's about reclaiming your power and your truth. Think about it. How many times have you lived a life that wasn't really your own, simply because you were trying to fit into someone else's expectations of you? Letting go of those expectations and the identities you've created around them is one of the most liberating things you can do. It's not about rejecting those parts of yourself. It's about integrating them into who you are now, not who you were in the past. But as liberating as this process is, it's also one of the hardest things you'll ever do. It's like shedding old skin. It feels raw, uncomfortable, and unfamiliar. But trust me, when you make the choice to let go, when you start shedding those old layers and facing the truth of who you are, the transformation is incredible. It's not easy, but it's worth it. And once you've taken that first step, everything else will begin to fall into place. So, let me ask you again, what do you need to let go of in your life? What's holding you back from stepping into the person you're meant to be? What emotional baggage are you still carrying around? Letting go isn't about abandoning something important. It's about making room for what's truly meant for you. And that, my friends, is one of the most powerful acts of self-love you can practice. Section 5. You might be thinking, all right, I get it. Letting go is important. But how do I actually know when it's time to release something? It's a good question, and honestly, it's not always clear-cut. Sometimes, it feels like the universe is giving us subtle hints, while other times, it's more like a sledgehammer to the face. The real challenge is learning to listen to your inner voice, your intuition, and trusting when it's time to make a change. One of the most challenging aspects of letting go is that we often don't realize how much weight we're carrying until we start to examine it. It's like carrying a backpack with bricks in it without realizing how heavy it's gotten. You've become so accustomed to the weight that you don't notice it until you take it off. And that's what happens when we start releasing emotional attachments. We realize just how much of our energy, peace, and joy has been drained by holding on to things that no longer serve us. So, how do you know when it's time to let go? Well, one sign is if you find yourself feeling stuck, drained, or constantly anxious about something. It might be a person, a relationship, or a situation. If you feel like you're constantly fighting against a current, like things just aren't flowing, it could be the universe nudging you to release that which is holding you back. These feelings of resistance aren't just annoying. They're signals. Your body, your mind, and your spirit are trying to tell you something. And that something is, it's time to let go. Another sign is if you feel like your life is repeating itself. You keep attracting the same types of people, situations, or problems. This is a big one. Jung would argue that this repetition is a clear indication that there's something unresolved in your unconscious mind. You're stuck in a loop, unable to move forward, and the reason you keep facing the same struggles is because you haven't yet learned the lessons those experiences are trying to teach you. The universe will keep sending you the same messages until you learn to listen. Once you release what's no longer serving you, you stop feeding the cycle, and suddenly, new opportunities begin to emerge. Now, let's talk about something important. The fear of the unknown. This is the big one, the one that holds most people back from letting go. Fear of change, fear of being alone, fear of not knowing what comes next. These are the things that keep us trapped in situations, relationships, and thought patterns that we know aren't good for us. But here's the truth. The unknown isn't as scary as it seems. Jung believed that our greatest fears are often projections of our own unconscious mind. The fear of the unknown is just an illusion, a barrier that we've built in our minds to keep us from stepping into the life we truly want. When you begin to let go, when you trust that your intuition is guiding you towards something better, you open yourself up to new possibilities. And guess what? The unknown is not a void. It's full of new opportunities, new relationships, new growth. Once you step out of that comfort zone, you'll begin to notice how much easier it is to make decisions. Things start to feel lighter, clearer, and suddenly, you're not fighting against the current anymore. You're flowing with it. But here's where it gets tricky. Even when you know it's time to let go, there's still the emotional attachment. And that attachment can be incredibly difficult to break. We get so emotionally invested in people, situations, or things, that the thought of releasing them feels like we're losing a part of ourselves. But in reality, we're only losing a version of ourselves that we've outgrown. Think about a time when you outgrew something: a job, a friendship, a belief, and you were initially terrified to leave it behind. Yet, when you did, you realized that it wasn't a loss at all. In fact, it was one of the most empowering moments of your life. You reclaimed your power. You stepped into your next chapter. Letting go is exactly like that. It's not about losing. It's about stepping into a version of yourself that's more aligned with who you are today, not who you were yesterday. Jung understood this deeply. He saw individuation, the process of becoming your true self, as the ultimate goal in life. But individuation can't happen if you're still holding on to parts of yourself that no longer fit, the parts of you that are stuck in the past, in old relationships, in limiting beliefs. They have to be released in order to make room for your true self to emerge. The more you let go, the more you make space for your authentic self to shine through. This process of releasing isn't just about getting rid of the bad. It's about making space for the good. And sometimes, that means facing your fears head-on. It means confronting those parts of yourself that are uncomfortable, those parts that have been hiding in the shadows. Jung believed that embracing your shadows, those hidden, repressed parts of yourself, was essential to your growth. When you face your fears, when you accept all parts of yourself, you can start to release the attachments that are holding you back. The shadows lose their power over you, and you are free to move forward. Let's pause here for a moment. Take a deep breath. Reflect on where you are right now. What's holding you back from moving forward? What attachments, whether emotional or physical, are keeping you stuck? And most importantly, how would your life change if you were able to release them? This is the key. Letting go is not about abandoning something. It's about choosing to release what no longer aligns with who you are becoming. It's a choice, not a loss. And when you make that choice, everything starts to shift. Your energy, your relationships, your mindset, everything will begin to align. Section 6. As we continue down this path of transformation, something truly remarkable begins to happen. We start to witness the power of emotional detachment, not as a form of loss, but as an invitation to a deeper connection with ourselves and the world around us. This isn't about pushing people or emotions away. It's about clearing the clutter so that we can make space for what really matters. Letting go of what no longer serves us creates room for something new, something better, something more aligned with who we are becoming. But getting to that point requires us to challenge our assumptions about what we need to hold on to. You see, so much of our lives are built on external expectations. We pick up certain habits, beliefs, and attachments because we feel obligated to, whether it's society telling us what success looks like, our families instilling certain values in us, or even our own insecurities shaping the way we see ourselves. These external forces often create a mold that we feel we have to fit into, even if it means sacrificing our authentic selves. But the journey of emotional detachment, as Jung teaches us, is about breaking free from these molds. It's about questioning those expectations and deciding for yourself what feels true, what feels right. The key here is that letting go isn't just about shedding the negative. It's about releasing anything that isn't aligned with who you truly are. That might include habits, relationships, old beliefs, or even the versions of yourself you've outgrown. So often, we stay attached to things simply because we're afraid of what will happen if we let them go. We fear the unknown, the discomfort, and the loss of control. But the reality is, holding on is far more painful in the long run than choosing to let go. Let me share a little secret here. Change doesn't happen because we push it. Change happens when we stop resisting it. Think about the process of growth. Just like a plant needs to shed old leaves to make way for new ones, we need to let go of old patterns, beliefs, and attachments to make space for new growth in our lives. The more we hold on, the more we stifle our own potential. But once we start releasing the things that no longer fit, something amazing happens. Our true selves begin to emerge. We begin to connect with the life we were meant to live, not the one we've been conditioned to accept. One of the most powerful moments in this process is when you realize that you have the power to reshape your own story. Jung often talked about the importance of individuation, becoming the person you were truly meant to be, beyond the roles and masks you've worn to fit in. But in order to do that, we must let go of the identities we've built that were never truly ours. These identities are often formed by the expectations of others, and they can feel suffocating once we realize they don't reflect our true selves. Imagine for a moment that you're standing in front of a mirror. The reflection you see is someone who has been shaped by others' ideas of who you should be, someone who's been carrying emotional baggage that no longer serves them. But when you let go of those attachments, when you peel away those layers, you begin to see the person you've always been beneath it all. You start to feel lighter. You start to feel like yourself again. This process of shedding isn't always easy, but it is incredibly freeing. Letting go requires us to face our fears, to step into the unknown, and to trust that we are capable of more than we realize. It's about letting go of the old versions of ourselves and embracing the new ones. It's about trusting that we can create a life that aligns with our truest desires, and not the expectations that have been placed upon us. But here's the catch. Even as we start to release, there's a part of us that resists. There's always that little voice in our head saying, "What if you're wrong? What if you regret this? What if this is all you've ever known?" And letting go means losing everything. This is where trust comes in. We have to trust ourselves enough to take that leap, even when the path ahead is unclear. And more importantly, we have to trust that life will fill the space we create with something better. We might not know what that something is right now, but the trust comes from knowing that what is meant for us will always find its way to us. Jung believed that our unconscious minds are always guiding us. When we learn to trust that inner compass, we begin to make decisions that are more aligned with who we really are. This intuitive guidance becomes clearer the more we let go of what is weighing us down. We stop living in reaction to our fears, our past, or our insecurities, and instead, we begin to live with intention. Every step we take toward emotional detachment is a step toward self-realization, and with each step, we get closer to the life we were meant to live. So, how do we know when we're ready to let go? You'll know because it'll feel like the right thing to do. It won't feel like a loss. It will feel like a liberation. When you let go of something that no longer serves you, it might hurt for a moment, but there's an undeniable sense of relief that follows. It's the feeling of reclaiming your space, your energy, and your peace. It's the realization that you're no longer carrying around unnecessary baggage. Letting go is a journey. It's not a one-time event, but a continuous process. But the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. And when you look back, you'll realize just how much you've freed yourself from. And in that freedom, you'll find a deeper connection to yourself and the world around you. Let me leave you with this. Every time you let go of something, you're making space for something better. Don't be afraid to release what no longer serves you, because in doing so, you're making room for the life that's waiting for you. And I promise you, the moment you let go, everything will begin to shift. Your energy will change, your perspective will change, and your life will align with the truth of who you really are. Section 7. Now that we've talked about the importance of letting go and how it can shift your life, let's dive into something that really stops most people in their tracks: the fear of being alone. It's something we all feel at different points in our lives, and it's deeply connected to our fear of change. The fear of being alone often keeps us in toxic relationships or stuck in situations that aren't serving us. We might hold on to things because the alternative, being alone, feels like the worst possible outcome. But here's the thing. The fear of being alone isn't actually about being physically alone. It's about the fear of facing ourselves. It's about confronting the parts of us that we've been avoiding. When we let go of something or someone, there's a void that can feel terrifying. We suddenly find ourselves in a space where we're forced to deal with the emotional weight of the past, and that can feel uncomfortable. But here's where the beauty of this process lies. It's in the moments of solitude that we truly reconnect with who we are. The fear of being alone is rooted in the fear of inadequacy, the belief that we're not enough, or that we need someone else to complete us. But Jung taught us that the key to inner peace is finding wholeness within ourselves, not through external validation. The more you let go of things that no longer serve you, the more you make space to connect with your true self. You start to realize that being alone doesn't mean being lonely. It means being whole. It means giving yourself the permission to grow, to discover who you are beyond the roles and relationships that once defined you. Take a moment and think about how often you've stayed in a situation simply because you didn't want to face the idea of being alone. Maybe it's a relationship that's been draining you, but the thought of ending it makes you feel like you'd be lost. Or maybe you've stayed in a job that you don't like because it's familiar. Even though it doesn't bring you joy, the fear of change, the fear of being alone, can be so powerful that we stay in situations that don't align with our true selves. But what if being alone wasn't something to fear? What if it was the key to your transformation? When you let go of what no longer serves you, you open up the possibility of reconnecting with yourself. You give yourself the chance to build a life that is truly your own. Jung would argue that true individuation can only happen when we learn to stand on our own 2 feet, without relying on others to define us. Letting go of attachments, whether they are to people, jobs, or places, is about reclaiming your sense of self. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who you should be. And that can be scary, because it means stepping into the unknown, facing your own fears, and trusting that you have everything you need within you to create the life you want. But here's the truth. When you embrace the fear of being alone, when you allow yourself to sit with the discomfort, you will start to feel more connected to yourself than ever before. You will realize that you don't need anyone else to validate your worth. You are enough, exactly as you are. And when you reach that point, everything starts to shift. The right people will come into your life, not because you're looking for validation, but because you've finally found peace within yourself. It's like the old saying goes, you have to love yourself before you can love anyone else. And this doesn't just apply to romantic relationships. It applies to your relationship with everything: your career, your friends, your family, and even your relationship with life itself. When you let go of the things that no longer align with who you are, you start to love and accept yourself on a deeper level. And that self-love becomes the foundation for every other relationship you have. The fear of being alone, though uncomfortable, is a necessary step in the process of letting go. It's an invitation to come back to yourself, to reconnect with your own truth, and to reclaim your life. Once you let go of what's holding you back, you can start to experience a sense of freedom and clarity that you've never had before. And in that space, you can create the life you've always wanted. One of the most freeing realizations in this journey is that you don't need anyone else's approval to move forward. The more you detach from external validation, the more you can align with your own internal compass. When you stop relying on others to define you, you open up to the possibility of living a life that is authentically yours, free from the expectations and limitations that others have placed on you. But here's the catch. You can't wait for someone else to make this decision for you. No one is going to come along and rescue you from your fears. It's up to you to take that first step. It's up to you to decide that you are ready to let go of the things that are keeping you stuck. The moment you make that decision, you're not just freeing yourself from those attachments. You're freeing yourself from the fear that has held you back for so long. Letting go is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. It's the courage to face the unknown, to face yourself, and to trust that you are capable of more than you realize. The fear of being alone will never fully disappear, but when you face it head-on, it loses its power over you, and when it no longer controls you, you can finally experience the true freedom that comes from emotional detachment. You can finally live life on your own terms. Section 8. Now that we've explored the fear of being alone and the importance of emotional detachment, let's talk about the freedom that comes with letting go. You've probably heard people say, you can't move forward until you let go of the past. And while it sounds like a cliché, there's a reason why this sentiment is so powerful. The truth is, when we hold on to the past, whether it's past relationships, past pain, or even past versions of ourselves, we limit our ability to move forward. We essentially keep ourselves tethered to something that no longer serves us. But when we make the conscious decision to release those attachments, we open ourselves up to possibilities we couldn't even imagine before. The moment we let go of the emotional weight we've been carrying, the doors of opportunity swing wide open. That's when the real magic happens. Life aligns, and we find ourselves attracting the right people, the right experiences, and the right opportunities. I know it's easier said than done. You might be thinking, but I've been carrying these things for so long. How do I just let them go? The key is understanding that letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to stop letting the past dictate your present and future. It's about acknowledging the lessons, feeling the emotions, and then deciding to free yourself from the burden. Think about it like cleaning out a closet. You don't throw everything away without thought. You go through the items, see what you still use, what still fits, and what's just taking up space. Similarly, when you release emotional attachments, it's not about erasing the past. It's about recognizing what you no longer need to carry. Sometimes, we hold on to things because we're afraid of losing them. But the truth is, holding on to them often causes more harm than good. The longer you keep them in your emotional closet, the more cluttered your life becomes, preventing you from experiencing new things. Now, here's something interesting. Did you know that the act of letting go actually affects your energy? It's true. When you hold on to negative emotions, past experiences, or unresolved issues, they drain your energy. It's like having an old phone that you never turn off, running apps in the background that suck up the battery. But when you finally power down those emotional apps, something incredible happens. Your energy is restored. You suddenly have more room for things that truly matter. And more importantly, you have the energy to pursue your dreams and goals with renewed vigor. But the real question here is, what will you do with that newfound energy? Once you've released the emotional baggage that's been weighing you down, what comes next? For some, it's a time of reflection, a moment to connect with themselves and figure out what they truly want. For others, it's a moment of creation time to start new projects, set new goals, or build new relationships. The point is, the moment you let go, your entire life can shift. Things start falling into place, and the clarity you gain is unparalleled. You begin to see the world not through the lens of the past, but with fresh eyes, full of possibility. Jung believed that by facing the unconscious and integrating its lessons, we can achieve a state of balance, peace, and authenticity. But that process requires us to let go of the things that are no longer aligned with our true selves. When we do this, we start to experience a sense of inner harmony that comes from within, not from external validation. That's the real power of emotional detachment. It's not about cutting yourself off from your emotions, but about understanding them, processing them, and then releasing them when they no longer serve your greater purpose. The interesting thing about emotional freedom is that it's contagious. When you let go of your own emotional baggage, you start to notice that the people around you also begin to shift. You start attracting people who are in alignment with your true self, people who support your growth, who encourage you to chase your dreams, and who share the same values. The more you release, the more you begin to attract what is meant for you. It's like this ripple effect of positivity and growth that spreads outward. You're not just changing your own life, you're setting an example for others to do the same. And that, in itself, can be incredibly rewarding. Jung spoke of the collective unconscious, the idea that we are all connected in ways that go beyond our individual experiences. When we start healing ourselves and letting go of our attachments, we not only heal ourselves, but contribute to the collective healing as well. Our energy affects those around us, and the more we align with our true selves, the more we inspire others to do the same. So, here's where I want you to pause for a moment and reflect. What are you holding on to that's draining your energy? What emotional baggage have you been carrying for far too long? And most importantly, what would your life look like if you could let go of it? If you could free yourself from the weight of the past, what new possibilities would open up for you? This is your invitation to release, to let go, to step into the version of yourself that you were always meant to be. The moment you decide to release the old and make space for the new, you will begin to notice a shift in your life. And once that shift happens, the possibilities are endless. You'll start to feel lighter, more aligned, and more at peace with yourself. The energy that was once stuck in the past will now be flowing freely toward the future. And trust me, the future is bright. Letting go is not about losing anything. It's about gaining everything. It's about reclaiming your energy, your peace, and your power. So, take a deep breath, release the past, and get ready for the incredible transformation that lies ahead. Section 9. Now that we've walked through the process of releasing, letting go, and the freedom it brings, let's talk about something equally important: self-compassion. Letting go isn't always easy. In fact, sometimes it feels downright painful. The process can stir up old wounds, evoke deep fears, and force us to confront parts of ourselves we'd rather ignore. And it's in those moments that self-compassion becomes essential. Many of us have a tendency to be hard on ourselves, especially when we're in the midst of change. We beat ourselves up for not getting it right, or for feeling vulnerable in the face of uncertainty. But here's the thing: emotional detachment is not about perfection. It's not about having it all together or pretending that everything is okay when it's not. It's about being kind to yourself in the process. It's about acknowledging that you're doing the best you can. Even when you're struggling, self-compassion is the antidote to self-criticism. It's the ability to treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer a close friend going through a difficult time. And while it may sound simple, it's something many of us struggle with. We've been conditioned to believe that we must be strong at all costs, that vulnerability is weakness, and that showing compassion toward ourselves is indulgent. But the truth is, self-compassion is one of the most powerful tools you can have in your journey of transformation. When you let go of old patterns, beliefs, or relationships, it's easy to feel like you're failing, or that you've made a mistake. But that's where self-compassion comes in. It reminds you that this process is not linear, and it's okay to stumble along the way. There will be moments when you doubt yourself, when you question whether you've made the right choice, or when you're overwhelmed by the fear of change. In those moments, self-compassion allows you to pause, breathe, and remind yourself that this is a journey. It's okay to feel lost sometimes. It's okay to make mistakes. What matters is that you keep going. You see, emotional detachment isn't about being emotionally numb. It's about creating emotional awareness. And in order to truly understand and release what no longer serves us, we have to be present with our emotions. We need to sit with the discomfort, the pain, the fear. And when we do that with kindness toward ourselves, we can move through it with more ease. Think of it as sitting with a friend who's going through a tough time. You don't try to fix them. You just listen. You offer comfort. And you remind them that they're doing the best they can. That's what self-compassion is. Being your own best friend in moments of emotional turmoil. But let's be clear here. Self-compassion isn't about excusing bad behavior or avoiding responsibility. It's about giving yourself permission to heal and grow. It's about recognizing that you're a human being who deserves love and understanding, regardless of your mistakes or imperfections. And the more you practice self-compassion, the easier it becomes to release the judgments, both from others and from yourself. You begin to see yourself as someone worthy of healing, worthy of peace, and worthy of the transformation that lies ahead. Another aspect of self-compassion is patience. Letting go takes time. It's a process that unfolds gradually, and it's important to remind yourself that you don't need to have everything figured out right away. This is not a race. We often rush through the emotional release process, thinking that the quicker we let go, the sooner we can move on. But the truth is, rushing through the process only prolongs the healing. The key is to be patient with yourself. Allow yourself the time and space to heal fully, and trust that every step, no matter how small, is leading you in the right direction. Self-compassion also means forgiving yourself for past mistakes. It means releasing the guilt, shame, or regret that you may be carrying. It's about accepting that you are human, that you make mistakes, and that those mistakes don't define you. You can release the weight of those past errors, learn from them, and move forward with a lighter heart. Forgiveness is a crucial part of emotional detachment. Without it, we carry the emotional burden of the past, making it harder to fully embrace the present and the future. So, when you're in the thick of this process of letting go, remember this: be kind to yourself, practice self-compassion. Recognize that this is a journey, not a destination, and it's okay to take your time. You don't need to be perfect, and you don't need to have all the answers right now. You only need to take one step at a time, with compassion and patience for yourself. The freedom you're seeking comes from within. It's not about getting rid of everything in your life, but about releasing the emotional baggage that no longer serves you. And when you combine this emotional release with self-compassion, something incredible happens. You begin to create a life that is more aligned with who you truly are. The more you let go, the more you make space for your authentic self to emerge. And when that happens, the world around you begins to change as well. You'll start to see new opportunities unfold. You'll attract the right people into your life. You'll feel lighter, more energized, and more at peace. And that, my friends, is the power of self-compassion combined with emotional detachment. It's the key to unlocking the life you were always meant to live. So, take a moment to reflect on how you can show yourself more compassion today. How can you be kinder to yourself as you navigate this journey of transformation? Remember, you are worthy of healing. You are worthy of growth. And most importantly, you are worthy of peace. Section 10. As we continue this journey of letting go and self-compassion, let's talk about the power of trust. The trust we need to place in ourselves and in the process of transformation. One of the hardest parts of letting go is the uncertainty that comes with it. We're all conditioned to seek control, to have a plan, and to know exactly what's next. But here's the thing: when we release the need for certainty, we open ourselves to something greater. Trusting the process of transformation requires a deep leap of faith. It's like jumping off a cliff and hoping that the parachute will open. You don't know for sure what will happen, but you trust that something will catch you. That's what letting go is all about: releasing the fear of the unknown and trusting that, even if you don't have all the answers, everything will work out in the end. Jung believed that part of this process was developing trust in our own inner wisdom. We all have an internal compass that can guide us, but we often doubt it. We second-guess ourselves, overthink our decisions, and rely on external validation to tell us what's right. But the more we release attachments, the more we connect with that inner compass, the more we trust ourselves, the clearer our path becomes. It's like a fog lifting from a long and winding road, revealing the way forward. But here's where it gets tricky. Trust is not something you can simply turn on when you need it. Trust is built over time, through consistent action and belief in yourself. It's the result of letting go of fear, letting go of the stories you've told yourself about your limitations, and embracing your true potential. Trust is the byproduct of self-compassion. When you treat yourself with kindness and patience, you begin to believe that you are capable of navigating through change with strength and resilience. Trusting yourself is also about letting go of the need for perfection. We often hold on to things because we think they are the best we can get, and the fear of making the wrong choice holds us back. But perfection is a myth. The right choice for you is not always the one that looks the best on paper. It's the one that feels aligned with who you truly are. When you trust yourself, you understand that every decision, every step, even the missteps, are part of your growth. Every choice moves you forward, even if it doesn't look the way you expected it to. Think about it. How many times have you stayed in situations, relationships, or jobs because you were afraid of making the wrong choice? How many times have you made decisions out of fear, rather than trusting what your heart and intuition were telling you? The more we rely on external sources of validation, the more we disconnect from our inner wisdom. But when we start to trust ourselves and the process of letting go, we step into our power. We stop waiting for permission. We stop second-guessing ourselves, and we begin to make choices that align with our true selves. Another crucial part of trust is allowing yourself to surrender to the flow of life. We spend so much time trying to control the outcome, trying to force things to happen according to our timeline. But life doesn't always work that way. Sometimes, the universe has a plan that's bigger and better than anything we could have imagined. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means letting go of the need to control every outcome and trusting that things will unfold as they should. It means trusting that, when you let go, The right people, opportunities, and experiences will come into your life at the right time. It's not easy to surrender. It's one of the hardest things to do, especially when we've been taught to strive, hustle, and constantly push for what we want. But surrender is not passive. It's active trust. It's the decision to stop fighting against the flow and to move with it. When you surrender to the process of letting go, you stop struggling and start flowing. And when you flow, things begin to align naturally. As you continue this journey, the more you trust yourself and the process, the easier it becomes to let go of the things that no longer serve you. You begin to see each step as an opportunity for growth, each challenge as a lesson, and each release as an act of liberation. And as you release, you start to notice something incredible. Life becomes easier. It's as if the weight you've been carrying is lifted, and you can finally breathe again. But trust doesn't come without its challenges. There will still be moments of doubt, moments when fear creeps in, and moments when you wonder if you made the right decision. And that's okay. Trust is not about being free of fear. It's about facing fear head-on and choosing to keep going anyway. It's about believing that, no matter what happens, you are exactly where you need to be. So, take a moment to reflect on where you are right now. What are you holding on to out of fear? What do you need to trust yourself to let go of? And what would your life look like if you fully embraced the process of surrendering, trusting, and letting go? The beauty of this journey is that the more you trust, the more you let go, the more you'll realize that everything you need is already within you. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need to control every detail. You simply need to trust the process. Trust yourself, and trust that you are exactly where you need to be. When you do that, everything falls into place. Section 11. So now we're diving into a really important concept: boundaries. You might be wondering how boundaries fit into the whole idea of letting go, especially since we've been focusing so much on release. But here's the deal. Setting healthy boundaries is actually a vital part of emotional detachment and the process of releasing what no longer serves you. Letting go is not just about releasing emotional baggage or toxic relationships. It's also about setting clear boundaries that protect your energy and peace of mind. Think of your personal boundaries as an invisible fence around your energy and well-being. They act as a safeguard, ensuring that only what truly aligns with your authentic self gets through. When we don't set boundaries, we open ourselves up to everything, every person, every situation, every energy, and that can leave us feeling drained, overwhelmed, and unbalanced. Without boundaries, we allow others to take up too much space in our lives, often to the detriment of our own well-being. But here's the kicker. Setting boundaries doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean you're being selfish or shutting people out. In fact, setting boundaries is one of the most self-loving things you can do. It's not about rejecting others. It's about honoring your own needs, your own limits, and your own peace. And this is where the importance of emotional detachment becomes even clearer. You have to detach from the idea that you have to please everyone or keep everyone happy at the expense of your own happiness. Let's be real for a second. How many times have you found yourself saying yes to things you didn't want to do, simply because you didn't want to disappoint someone? Maybe you've stayed in a job that drained you because you didn't want to let your boss down. Or perhaps you've kept a toxic friendship going because you didn't want to hurt someone's feelings. It's easy to fall into these patterns, and it's even easier to think that setting boundaries will make you look selfish or uncaring. But the truth is, boundaries are necessary for healthy relationships, both with others and with yourself. When you learn to set boundaries, you give yourself permission to prioritize your needs. You stop apologizing for wanting peace, for needing space, and for taking care of yourself. And here's the thing, when you set boundaries, you're also teaching others how to treat you. If you don't set boundaries, you're allowing others to define your limits for you. But when you communicate your boundaries clearly, you're telling the world that you respect yourself enough to protect your energy. But setting boundaries isn't always easy. It requires clarity, confidence, and a willingness to be uncomfortable. You'll encounter resistance, whether it's from people who are used to you saying yes all the time, or from your own inner critic, telling you that you're being too rigid or selfish. But the truth is, if you're constantly saying yes to others and no to yourself, You're not living authentically. You're just playing a part, filling a role, and pretending that it's okay to sacrifice your peace for the sake of others. When you begin to set boundaries, the first thing you'll notice is that it feels awkward. You'll second-guess yourself, feel guilty, or even worry that you're letting people down. But over time, you'll start to realize that these boundaries are the foundation of your personal growth. They allow you to cultivate a life that is more aligned with your true desires and needs. And as you get more comfortable setting boundaries, you'll notice a shift in the way others treat you. They'll start to respect your space, your time, and your energy. You'll stop feeling like you're being drained by everyone around you, and you'll begin to experience a newfound sense of empowerment. Remember, boundaries aren't about shutting people out. They're about creating a healthy space for yourself. Setting boundaries allows you to say no when you need to. Take a break when you're overwhelmed, and focus on what truly matters to you. They are your personal rules for maintaining balance in your life. And when you set them with confidence, you'll find that life becomes much simpler and more peaceful. But here's an important caveat. Setting boundaries also means being able to let go of people, situations, and even beliefs that don't respect those boundaries. Sometimes, when we start setting boundaries, we realize that certain relationships or situations aren't a good fit anymore. And that's okay. In fact, it's a sign of growth. As you begin to let go of those things that don't align with your true self, you create more room for the things that do. This might mean walking away from a friendship that's draining, ending a relationship that's holding you back, or even saying goodbye to a job that doesn't bring you joy. But every time you make that choice, you're affirming your commitment to yourself, your well-being, and your inner peace. So, where do we go from here? Setting boundaries is a continual process. It's not something you do once and then forget about. It's a practice that you continue to build on as you move forward in life. The more you practice it, the easier it becomes to maintain, and the more natural it feels. Over time, you'll become more comfortable with saying no when you need to, creating space for yourself when you feel overwhelmed, and protecting your energy from external forces that want to drain you. And the more you do this, the more you'll realize that setting boundaries is actually an act of self-love and respect. So, take a moment to think about your own life. Where do you need to set clearer boundaries? What situations or people are draining your energy? And how can you begin to communicate those boundaries in a way that honors both yourself and others? By setting healthy boundaries, you're creating a space where you can thrive, where you can let go of what no longer serves you. Protect your energy and step into a life that aligns with your truest self. And that's one of the most empowering things you can do. Section 12. As we continue down the path of self-awareness and growth, let's explore something that often comes up during the process of emotional detachment. The need to release old beliefs, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are, what we deserve, and what we are capable of are powerful forces in our lives. These beliefs, often formed in childhood or through past experiences, shape the way we see the world and, more importantly, the way we navigate it. But here's the catch. Many of these beliefs are not true, and they no longer serve us as we evolve. Think about it. How many times have you held yourself back because you believed you weren't good enough? How many times have you stayed in a situation or a relationship because you thought you didn't deserve better? These limiting beliefs are often deeply ingrained in our subconscious, and they can hold us back from the life we truly deserve. Letting go of these old beliefs is a critical part of emotional detachment, because until we challenge them and release them, they continue to shape our reality in ways that limit our growth. One of the biggest limiting beliefs that many people carry is the idea that they have to earn love, happiness, or success. We've been conditioned to believe that we have to prove ourselves worthy of these things, that we're not entitled to them just because we exist. This belief often leads to burnout, frustration, and self-doubt. But what if I told you that you don't have to prove anything? What if you could simply decide that you are worthy, just as you are, without needing to earn it? Jung spoke extensively about the unconscious mind, the parts of us that we are unaware of but which influence our behavior, our decisions, and our lives. A lot of our limiting beliefs come from the unconscious, formed through childhood experiences, societal conditioning, and past trauma. They are like invisible chains that bind us, preventing us from reaching our full potential. But the beauty of the process of letting go is that it allows us to become more conscious of these beliefs and begin the work of releasing them. Letting go of limiting beliefs isn't easy. It requires a willingness to question everything you've been taught to believe about yourself. It requires the courage to look at the stories you've been telling yourself, stories about your worth, your potential, and your limitations, and decide that they are no longer true. It's about unlearning the patterns and narratives that no longer align with who you are and who you want to become. For example, let's say you've spent most of your life believing that you are not good enough to succeed. This belief may have been shaped by criticism from others or experiences of failure in the past. Every time you try to move forward, that belief holds you back, and you find yourself stuck in a cycle of self-doubt. But here's the thing. This belief is not based on reality. It's just a story you've been telling yourself. And the moment you decide to let go of that belief, you free yourself from the cycle of self-doubt and open up to new possibilities. Another common limiting belief is the idea that we are not worthy of love. We've all heard the phrase, "You can't love others until you love yourself." But for many, loving themselves feels impossible because they've been conditioned to believe that they are not enough. They may have grown up in environments where love was conditional, or they may have experienced rejection or abandonment in the past. These experiences shape how we view ourselves and our ability to receive love. But letting go of the belief that you are unworthy of love is a game changer. The truth is, you are worthy of love simply because you exist. Love isn't something you have to earn. It's something you are inherently deserving of. Releasing old beliefs is a key part of the individuation process that Jung spoke of, the journey of becoming your true self, beyond the masks and roles you've played in the past. But in order to truly become who you are meant to be, you have to release the beliefs that hold you back. And this process starts with awareness. The first step is recognizing the beliefs you've been carrying and questioning their validity. Once you do that, you can begin to replace those beliefs with new, more empowering ones. This isn't a one-time fix. Changing long-held beliefs takes time, patience, and practice. But with each step, you'll find yourself becoming more aligned with your true self. You'll stop holding on to beliefs that limit you and start embracing those that empower you. Instead of thinking, "I'm not good enough," you'll start to believe, "I am worthy of all the good things that life has to offer." Instead of thinking, "I don't deserve love," you'll start to believe, "I am lovable just as I am." And here's the best part. As you begin to release these old beliefs, your life begins to shift. You start making decisions that align with your true self, not the person you've been pretending to be. You begin to take risks, to step into new opportunities, and to attract people and experiences that reflect your new beliefs. The old patterns start to dissolve, and what emerges is a life that feels more authentic, more fulfilling, and more aligned with your soul's purpose. But remember, this process isn't always easy. The mind resists change, especially when it comes to deeply ingrained beliefs. But with self-compassion, patience, and the willingness to embrace discomfort, you will find the strength to release the beliefs that no longer serve you. And when you do, you will create space for new, empowering beliefs that will support your growth, your happiness, and your success. So, take a moment to reflect on the beliefs you've been carrying. What stories have you been telling yourself about who you are and what you're capable of? Which of those beliefs are holding you back from stepping into your true potential? And how can you start letting go of those limiting beliefs today? The power to transform your life is within you. It starts with the simple, yet profound act of letting go of beliefs that no longer serve you. And in doing so, you'll make space for a life that is more authentic, more fulfilling, and more aligned with your true self. Section 13. Now that we've explored the importance of releasing limiting beliefs and the power of self-compassion, let's talk about the role of self-awareness in this process. Self-awareness is the foundation upon which emotional detachment and personal growth are built. Without self-awareness, we can easily fall into patterns of denial, resistance, and self-sabotage, preventing us from making the changes we need to move forward. But when we develop the ability to be truly self-aware, we begin to see ourselves clearly, our strengths, our weaknesses, our triggers, and, most importantly, our potential. So, what does self-awareness actually mean? It's the ability to observe your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without judgment. It's about being present with yourself, noticing what's happening within you, and recognizing how those internal experiences shape your external reality. Self-awareness allows us to step outside of ourselves for a moment and examine the patterns we've been running without being consumed by them. It's like stepping out of the chaos of our emotions and into a place of clarity, where we can see the full picture. One of the most powerful tools for developing self-awareness is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, without judgment or distraction. It's about observing your thoughts and emotions as they arise, without getting caught up in them or letting them control you. For example, if you feel anger rising within you, mindfulness allows you to recognize that emotion without immediately reacting. Instead of letting the anger dictate your behavior, mindfulness helps you pause and make a conscious decision about how you want to respond. Mindfulness is incredibly helpful in the process of letting go, because it helps us become aware of the emotions and beliefs we've been carrying without fully realizing it. Often, we get so caught up in the busyness of life that we don't take the time to sit with our emotions or examine our thoughts. We might be carrying around unprocessed anger, sadness, or fear, but we don't recognize it until it manifests in our behavior or in our relationships. Mindfulness brings these unconscious patterns to light, allowing us to release them consciously. But self-awareness isn't just about observing our emotions. It's also about understanding our triggers. We all have emotional triggers. Certain people, situations, or words that cause an immediate emotional reaction. These triggers are often linked to past experiences, and they can be powerful enough to hijack our responses. Without self-awareness, we react to these triggers automatically, without understanding where they come from or why they have such a strong hold on us. But when we cultivate self-awareness, we begin to recognize our triggers before they control us. We can pause and ask ourselves, why am I feeling this way? What past experience is influencing my reaction? Is this emotion really about the present situation, or is it rooted in something from the past? By developing self-awareness, we begin to take control of our emotional responses instead of letting them control us. This is particularly important when it comes to emotional detachment, because it allows us to make conscious decisions about what to hold on to and what to release. If we are unaware of our emotional patterns, we will continue to hold on to past hurts, past relationships, and limiting beliefs without realizing how they are impacting our present lives. But when we are self-aware, we can recognize those patterns and choose to release them. Self-awareness also helps us recognize when we are holding on to things out of fear or attachment. Often, we hold on to people, situations, or beliefs, not because they align with who we are, but because we are afraid of what will happen if we let go. We fear the unknown, the uncertainty, and the discomfort that comes with change. But when we are self-aware, we can see this fear for what it is, an emotional reaction, not a rational decision. And once we recognize that fear, we can make a conscious choice to release what no longer serves us, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. But how do we cultivate self-awareness? One powerful way is through journaling. Writing down your thoughts and emotions can help you gain clarity about what's going on inside. You might be surprised by what comes up when you start to write, and it can be incredibly revealing. Journaling helps you process emotions, track patterns, and understand why you feel the way you do. It's also a great way to reflect on the progress you've made in your emotional detachment journey. Looking back on past entries can help you see how far you've come, and it can also give you valuable insight into areas where you still need to release. Another way to develop self-awareness is through meditation. Meditation allows you to sit in silence and observe your thoughts without judgment. It's a practice that helps you become more aware of your inner world, and over time, it can help you detach from the constant chatter of the mind. Meditation also helps you develop mindfulness, which, as we discussed earlier, is key to emotional detachment. By regularly practicing meditation, you create space for yourself to connect with your inner self, gain clarity, and release the emotional baggage you've been carrying. But self-awareness doesn't just come from introspection. It also comes from feedback. Sometimes, we can't see our own blind spots, and it's helpful to seek feedback from others. Surround yourself with people who know you well and who can offer honest, constructive feedback. These people can help you see things from a different perspective and can point out patterns or behaviors that you may not be aware of. This feedback, when received with an open mind and heart, can be incredibly valuable in the process of letting go. Self-awareness is a lifelong practice. It's not something you achieve overnight. But the more you cultivate it, the more empowered you become, the more aware you are of your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. The more you can consciously choose what to hold on to and what to release. Self-awareness allows you to live with intention, to make decisions that align with your true self, and to create a life that reflects who you are at your core. So, as you continue on this journey of emotional detachment, remember, self-awareness is your greatest tool. It's the key to understanding yourself, releasing what no longer serves you, and stepping into the life you were meant to live. Take a moment to reflect. What patterns or beliefs are you still carrying around without realizing it? How can you become more aware of your emotions, your triggers, and your responses? And most importantly, how can you use this self-awareness to let go of what's holding you back and create space for the life you truly deserve? Section 14. As we approach the final stages of this journey, it's important to address a concept that often trips us up on the path of letting go: attachment. The act of releasing is often accompanied by a deep sense of loss, and the fear of that loss can keep us holding on to things that no longer serve us. But the truth is, attachment itself is a powerful force that can keep us stuck in cycles of unhealthy patterns. The process of emotional detachment is not about denying our attachment to things or people. It's about transforming that attachment into a healthier, more balanced relationship with ourselves and the world around us. Attachment, at its core, is natural. We form attachments to people, places, and things because they provide us with a sense of security, connection, and meaning. But when our attachment becomes too rigid or dependent, it can start to control us. We begin to identify ourselves with these attachments. Our sense of self becomes intertwined with what we have or who we are with, and we lose touch with who we are outside of those things. This is where the concept of emotional detachment becomes critical. It's not about disconnecting from life or relationships, but about learning to relate to them in a way that allows us to maintain our independence, inner peace, and sense of self. Think about a time when you stayed in a relationship or situation because you were afraid of losing the connection or identity that came with it. Maybe it was a relationship that no longer brought you joy, or a job that drained your energy. You stayed because you thought that being without it would leave you incomplete. That fear of loss is rooted in attachment, the belief that without this person, this thing, or this identity, you would be less than you are. But here's the paradox. The more tightly we hold on to things out of fear of losing them, the more we risk losing ourselves. To break free from this cycle of attachment, we have to shift our perspective. Instead of viewing attachment as something that defines us, we need to see it as something that enriches our lives without owning them. Relationships, careers, and experiences are all part of the beautiful tapestry of our lives, but they don't determine our worth. Our worth is inherent, and it comes from within. When we begin to detach from the belief that we need these external factors to complete us, we create space for more authentic, healthy connections. We no longer need to cling to people or situations out of fear of being alone or incomplete. Instead, we are free to choose relationships and experiences that align with our true selves. One way to break the cycle of unhealthy attachment is by practicing non-attachment. Non-attachment doesn't mean becoming emotionally cold or indifferent. It means developing a sense of inner freedom, where your happiness and sense of self are not dependent on external factors. It's about learning to enjoy things in life without becoming attached to them. Think of it like enjoying a sunset. You appreciate its beauty. You feel connected to it in the moment, but you don't need to possess it or hold on to it. You understand that it's a fleeting, beautiful experience that you can enjoy without needing to claim ownership over it. The same goes for relationships. When we practice non-attachment, we learn to love deeply, but without clinging. We enjoy the connection, but we don't define ourselves by it. This shift in perspective allows us to love freely, without fear of loss or dependence. We can give and receive love without the underlying fear that we will be less without it. Non-attachment also helps us release the need to control situations or people. When we stop trying to control the outcomes of our relationships or our circumstances, we open ourselves to the flow of life, allowing things to unfold naturally and organically. But let me make one thing clear. Non-attachment doesn't mean that we stop caring or stop committing to people, projects, or goals. It's about removing the sense of possession or control. It's about embracing impermanence and understanding that nothing in life is guaranteed. Everything in life, whether it's a relationship, a job, or an experience, is temporary. When we understand this, we stop holding on with white-knuckled desperation and start embracing the beauty of life as it comes and goes. Non-attachment also allows us to release expectations. When we attach expectations to something or someone, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Expectations are rooted in control. They are a way of trying to predict or manipulate the future based on our desires. But life doesn't always unfold according to our plans. And when we become too attached to specific outcomes, we create unnecessary stress and frustration. By practicing non-attachment, we release our need to control the future and instead trust that everything will unfold as it should. Now, I want you to take a moment and reflect on your own attachments. What are you holding on to out of fear or desire? What relationships, situations, or identities have you become so attached to that you can't imagine life without them? What would it feel like to release that attachment, to let go of the fear of loss, and trust that you are whole and complete, with or without those things? Letting go of attachment is one of the most freeing acts of emotional detachment. It's not about cutting yourself off from love, joy, or connection. It's about embracing them fully, while also understanding that they are not the source of your worth or identity. When we detach from unhealthy attachment, we open ourselves to a deeper connection with ourselves and with others. We learn to appreciate what we have in the present moment, knowing that it is enough, without needing to possess it or control it. And that's where true freedom lies, in releasing the hold that attachment has over us and allowing life to flow without resistance. The more we practice this non-attachment, the more we begin to see that our true self, our peace, and our happiness come from within, not from the people or things around us. And as we detach from the belief that we need these things to complete us, we start to realize just how whole and capable we've always been. Section 15. As we come to the final part of this journey, there's one last piece to explore: the power of surrender. Surrender is often misunderstood, especially in the context of emotional detachment. We may think of surrender as giving up, as accepting defeat, or as losing control. But in reality, surrender is not about giving up. It's about letting go of the need to control, of forcing outcomes, and of holding on to things that are no longer aligned with your higher purpose. It's about trusting the process, even when you can't see the full picture. At the heart of surrender is trust. Trust that the universe, life, or whatever higher power you believe in, is guiding you in the right direction. Surrender is the moment when you stop fighting against the flow of life, when you stop trying to control every detail, and when you finally allow yourself to rest in the knowing that everything is unfolding as it should. And it's in this surrender that the most profound transformation occurs. You might be asking, how does surrender fit into emotional detachment? The answer lies in the fact that surrender allows you to release the emotional attachments that are holding you back. When we let go of the need to control, we stop trying to force relationships, jobs, or circumstances into a mold that we believe they should fit. We stop trying to micromanage the outcomes and start allowing things to unfold naturally. This doesn't mean that we stop acting or stop caring. Rather, we stop trying to force things to happen and begin to trust that we are being guided toward the right path. Surrender is also about letting go of your attachment to the how and when. So often, we get fixated on how things will unfold, when they will happen, and in what order. But life doesn't work like that. The universe doesn't follow our timeline, and our best-laid plans often don't unfold the way we expect them to. The key is to release the grip we have on controlling these details, and to allow life to surprise us in beautiful and unexpected ways. When we surrender, we create space for the unknown and open ourselves up to experiences we never could have imagined. there's also a deep sense of peace that comes with surrender. When you let go of the need to control, you free yourself from the stress and anxiety that come with constantly worrying about the future. You stop living in a state of perpetual striving and start living in a state of acceptance. You accept that there will always be uncertainties, but you also trust that those uncertainties will lead you exactly where you need to go. The weight of trying to figure everything out and make everything perfect lifts off your shoulders, and you begin to feel a sense of calm that comes from simply being present. But surrender isn't always easy. It requires a willingness to face your fears and uncertainties. It requires you to embrace vulnerability, to admit that you don't have all the answers, and that's okay. The ego resists surrender because it fears losing control. It wants to hold on, to plan, and to predict, but surrender is about releasing that grip and accepting that sometimes the best thing you can do is nothing at all. Sometimes, the greatest act of courage is simply allowing things to unfold as they are meant to. The fear of surrender often comes from the fear of loss, the belief that by letting go, we are giving up something valuable. But surrender isn't about loss, it's about gaining freedom. The more you surrender, the more you release the grip that fear and control have on you. And the more you surrender, the more you realize that the universe, life, or your inner self is always providing for you. When you stop fighting against life, you begin to see the opportunities and blessings that are already there, just waiting for you to accept them. Surrender is also deeply connected to trust in yourself. As you let go of external control, you begin to trust your inner wisdom. You trust that you know what's best for you, even when things don't seem clear, and you trust that, no matter what happens, you will be okay. This trust is the foundation of emotional freedom. The more you surrender, the more you realize that you don't need to control everything in order to feel safe, loved, or successful. Everything you need is already within you, and surrendering is the key to unlocking that truth. So, how do we practice surrender? It starts with letting go of resistance. When you catch yourself trying to control, force, or manipulate a situation, take a step back and breathe. Acknowledge that you don't have all the answers, and that's okay. Let go of the pressure to know what's coming next, and allow yourself to be open to the possibilities. Trust that everything is unfolding in divine timing, and trust that you are exactly where you need to be in this moment. Surrender also requires self-compassion. As you navigate this process, there will be times when you feel uncertain, scared, or doubtful. But when you surrender with kindness toward yourself, you create a space of safety and trust. You allow yourself to be human, to make mistakes, and to trust that those mistakes are part of the journey. Remember, surrender is not about giving up. It's about letting go of the things that no longer serve you. It's about releasing the need to control, trusting the process, and having faith that everything is happening for your highest good. It's the ultimate act of emotional detachment because, in surrender, you free yourself from the hold that fear and attachment have over you. You stop fighting, and you start living in alignment with your true self. As you continue to let go of the old, trust in the unknown, and practice surrender, you'll find that life becomes simpler, more fulfilling, and more peaceful. The more you release, the more space you make for the new. And in that space, the life you've always wanted begins to emerge.